Imagine for a moment the plumbing system in the house where you grew up. Maybe it was a 1950s or 1960s construction, with iron pipes that worked perfectly for decades. At first, the water ran crystal clear and at ideal pressure. But as the years went by, you started to notice the pressure had dropped. The water took longer to heat up, and every now and then, there were those strange noises in the walls. Your arteries work exactly like that plumbing system. When you were in your 30s or 40s, they were like new pipes. Flexible, smooth on the inside, allowing blood to flow freely to every corner of your body. Your heart pumped with ease, like a new water pump, sending oxygen and nutrients to your muscles, your brain, your vital organs. But just as those old pipes began to build up mineral deposits and rust, your arteries may be facing a similar problem. The difference is that instead of limescale and rust, what builds up on their walls are cholesterol plaques, inflammation, and other debris that arrive primarily through your diet. Dr. Robert Chen, a cardiologist at the Mayo Clinic, compared this process in a recent study. It's as if we were pouring used oil down the sink drain every day. At first, it seems to make no difference, but after years, the clogging is inevitable. The numbers are alarming. Men after age 63 are 68% more likely to develop coronary artery disease. However, this does not negate the risk in women over 60. It only reduces it compared to men. You may be wondering, but I've always eaten the same things. Why is this happening now? The answer lies in the combination of three factors that intensify with age. First, your metabolism naturally slows down, like an engine that has already logged many miles. Second, your body produces fewer enzymes that break down harmful fats. And third, and this is the crucial point, certain meats you consume regularly contain compounds that, when processed by your mature body, turn into true arterial cloggers. Think about your friend João, 65, who was always an active man. He played tennis twice a week, tended the garden on weekends, and never had any serious health problems, until he started feeling a tightness in his chest during exercise. It must be just fatigue, he thought. But when he went to the doctor, he discovered that his coronary arteries were 70% blocked. The cardiologist was direct. João, you need to completely rethink what you're putting on your plate. João's case isn't isolated. A Harvard Medical School study followed 8,000 men over 60 for 15 years. The results were revealing. Those who regularly consumed the three specific types of meat we're going to discuss were 85% more likely to develop significant arterial obstruction compared to those who limited these foods. But here's what the researchers found that may completely change your perspective. The process isn't irreversible. Your arteries have a surprising capacity for self-cleaning when you remove the foods that are causing the problem and replace them with options that truly nourish your cardiovascular system. It's like doing a complete cleanup of that old plumbing system. First, you stop dumping more gunk into the pipes. Then, you use products that help dissolve and remove what had already built up. In a few weeks, the water flows freely and crystal clear again. Now you may be thinking, but what are these specific meats? I eat red meat, chicken, fish. Which one of them is causing the problem? The answer may surprise you because it's not exactly the kinds most people suspect. And more importantly, it's not about completely eliminating meat from your diet, something that would be impractical and even harmful for men your age. The first type of meat we're going to analyze is consumed by 89% of American men over 60 at least 3 times a week. It's present at breakfast in most households, it's considered a tradition at weekend cookouts, and you probably have a few examples in your refrigerator right now. The first villain in our story is so ingrained in American culture that removing it from the diet seems almost impossible. We're talking about processed meats, bacon, sausage, ham, salami, linguiça, and all their cousin cold cuts that fill entire supermarket aisles. You probably grew up watching your father make crispy bacon on Sunday mornings, or you remember the irresistible smell of sausage at family cookouts. These foods carry powerful emotional memories. They're the taste of childhood, of family gatherings, of special moments. But here's what the food industry doesn't want you to know. Every slice of bacon contains a chemical time bomb called sodium nitrate. When this compound enters your body, It turns into nitrosamines, substances that act like microscopic destroyer soldiers attacking the inner lining of your arteries. Dr. Frank Hamilton, from the Instituto de Cardiologia de Boston, compared this process to scrubbing the inside of a garden hose with steel wool every day. The microlesions caused by nitrosamines create spots where cholesterol settles, like dust that accumulates on scratched surfaces. A study of 4,000 men revealed alarming data. Those who ate just 2 slices of bacon a day were 42% more likely to develop severe arterial blockage compared to those who avoided processed meats. Maria, the wife of one of the study participants, reported, "My husband Robert was always healthy. He walked every day, didn't smoke, and drank only socially. But at 63, he had a heart attack. The doctor was direct. Stop the breakfast bacon and the dinner sausage, or we'll have bigger problems." The worst part is that these meats are addictive by design. The combination of salt, fat, and preservatives activates the same brain receptors stimulated by drugs, creating a dependent cycle that's hard to break. Can you imagine that? But there is a way out. Studies show that replacing processed meats with specific alternatives can reverse arterial damage in just 12 weeks. The secret lies in knowing exactly what to swap in and how to make the transition without sacrificing flavor. However, bacon and its companions are only the first problem. The second type of meat that's clogging your arteries is even more insidious because it's disguised as a healthy option. The second culprit is going to shock you because it's probably on your plate right now, proudly labeled as the smart choice. We're talking about factory-farmed chicken, specifically those skinless white chicken breasts that doctors and nutritionists have recommended for decades as a healthy alternative to red meat. You may be thinking, wait a minute, chicken is lean protein, low in saturated fat. How can it be harmful? The answer is hidden in what the food industry has done to this bird over the last 50 years. The chicken your grandfather ate weighed about 2.6 pounds and took 16 weeks to grow naturally. The modern chicken? It weighs 6.0 pounds and reaches that size in just 6 weeks. It's like forcing a 10-year-old child to have the body of a 16-year-old in 2 months. To achieve this accelerated growth, farms inject cocktails of hormones and antibiotics that accumulate in the muscle tissue. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez from Cornell University discovered something alarming. These chickens contain 15 times more inflammatory omega-6 than those raised naturally. Think of omega-6 as tiny sparks inside your arteries. 1 or 2 don't cause a problem, but when you eat factory-farmed chicken 4 to 5 times a week, you're throwing handfuls of those sparks into your cardiovascular system. Over time, they cause chronic inflammation, the #1 trigger for arterial plaque formation. A Johns Hopkins study followed 1,000 people over 60 for 2 years and proved that those who regularly consumed factory-farmed chicken had 23% more inflammatory markers in their blood compared to those who avoided industrially raised poultry. Carlos, 67, a retired accountant, religiously followed the diet recommended by his cardiologist: grilled chicken, salads, exercise. Even so, his inflammation tests stayed high. Only when I swapped supermarket chicken for organic, pasture-raised birds did my levels normalize, he says. The problem gets worse because we eat chicken thinking we're doing the right thing. It's like taking a medication that actually makes the disease worse. The industry invested millions to position chicken as healthy food, but it never told you that production methods turned this protein into a source of inflammation. The good news? There's a dramatic difference between factory-farmed chicken and properly raised poultry. Studies show that organic, pasture-raised chickens have a completely opposite nutritional profile, rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3. But there's still a third villain, perhaps the most dangerous of all, because it hides behind the reputation of being the healthiest protein on the planet. Prepare yourself for the biggest surprise. The third villain is farmed fish, especially salmon, tilapia, and catfish raised in aquaculture farms. Yes, the very fish you buy with pride, thinking you're making the smartest choice for your heart. The fishing industry sold the world on the idea that fish is always healthy. But there's a vast difference between wild fish that swam freely in oceans and rivers And these creatures confined to overcrowded tanks, fed artificial feed. Imagine a wild salmon. It swam hundreds of miles against currents, ate krill, algae, and small fish rich in omega-3. Its flesh was naturally pink, firm, packed with anti-inflammatory nutrients. Now compare it to farmed salmon. It stays still in cramped tanks, packed like sardines in a can, eating feed made from corn, soy, and rancid fish meal. To mimic the salmon's natural pink hue, it's given artificial dyes. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a marine researcher at the University of Alaska, made an alarming discovery. Farmed salmon contains 16 times more persistent organic pollutants than wild salmon. These toxins lodge directly in arterial walls. A study in Environmental Health Perspectives analyzed 20,000 people who regularly ate farmed fish. The results were devastating. A 31% higher risk of developing accelerated atherosclerosis, that is, clogging and hardening of the arteries that progresses more quickly, compared to those who ate wild fish. The problem goes beyond nutritional quality. These fish receive regular doses of antibiotics so they don't die from infections in dirty tanks. When you eat this fish, you're ingesting pharmaceutical residues that alter your gut microbiota, the second brain that controls inflammation throughout your body. Roberto, a 62-year-old engineer, believed he was taking care of himself by eating tilapia 3 times a week. My doctor said fish was better than red meat, he says. But his triglycerides stayed elevated and inflammation kept rising. When he discovered the tilapia he bought came from Chinese farms with contaminated water, he switched to wild sardines and tuna. In 2 months, his inflammatory markers fell by 40%. The irony is cruel. You pay more for fish thinking you're investing in your health, when in reality you're buying an inflammatory time bomb disguised as healthy food. But here's the turning point of this story. Now that you know the 3 silent saboteurs of your circulation, I'm going to reveal exactly how to reverse decades of arterial damage and reclaim the vitality you thought you had lost forever. Now you know the 3 saboteurs that may be silently clogging your arteries: processed meats, industrial chicken, and farmed fish. But here's the most important part of this story. You have the power to reverse this process and reclaim the vitality you thought you had lost forever. Dr. Michael Torres, an interventional cardiologist with 30 years of experience, has witnessed something extraordinary. I've seen 70-year-old men with arteries 80% blocked regain significant blood flow in just 3 months simply by swapping out 3 types of protein in their diet. The secret isn't eliminating meat entirely, something impractical and even harmful for men over 60, who need quality protein to maintain muscle mass and energy. The secret lies in making smart substitutions that turn your body from an enemy into an ally. The first life-saving swap: replace processed meats with organic, grass-fed meats. A steak from grass-fed cattle contains 5 times more anti-inflammatory omega-3 than processed bacon. It's like replacing a hammer with a soft brush. Instead of injuring your arteries, you start nourishing them. James, a 68-year-old retiree, made this swap, and in 8 weeks, his inflammation markers dropped 45%. My energy came back like in the old days, he reports. I can work in the garden all morning without getting tired. The second revolution: trade industrial chicken for organic pasture-raised poultry, or better yet, for small wild fish like sardines, anchovies, and mackerel. These fish are rich in omega-3 EPA and DHA, the natural brooms that literally clean your arteries. A Harvard University study showed that eating sardines twice a week reduces the risk of forming new arterial plaques by 36%. It's like having a cleanup crew working inside your blood vessels 24 hours a day. The third miraculous change: eliminate farmed fish entirely and adopt the SMASH rule: sardines, mackerel, anchovies, wild salmon, and herring. These small wild fish have something special. They're rich in astaxanthin, a powerful antioxidant that repairs existing damage in arterial walls. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a preventive medicine specialist, explains, astaxanthin works like an internal sunscreen for your arteries, preventing oxidation from causing further harm and helping to reverse old damage. Your 60s, 70s, or 80s do not define your potential. Your age is not a sentence of inevitable decline. What you eat today determines how you'll feel tomorrow. Every meal is an opportunity to choose between feeding disease or nourishing healing. Remember, your arteries have memory, but they also have the capacity to forgive and regenerate. With the right choices, your body can go back to functioning like a well-tuned machine, pumping life and energy to every cell. The fountain of youth isn't in a magic pill or an expensive treatment. It's on your plate. And now you have the treasure map. If you consume any of these meats, leave a comment saying whether you already suspected these negative impacts on your arteries. Also, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more tips on healthy senior living. See you next time.